Popcorn, and let's dive into the session today. So, Toyib, before we delve in, I wanted to, obviously there's been a lot of chatter about, is it a good time to buy a home today? And I'm going to share my quick, a screen and show you what, people are talking about in terms of buying a home. There's an article that came out, with Lending Tree. It talked about, said 94% of Americans today say owning a home is part of the American dream, but 51% who don't own a home fear they never will. And also there's an article that came from the federal government that, America's housing crisis has hit a new inflection point. I think, and also a graph about, I think there's a graph that a chatter came out, say 54 is now 54% cheaper to rent than to own. So with all these data points hovering around today, Toyib, I'd like to hear your perspective about, buying or renting and yeah.
Listen, this article is quite interesting. 94% of Americans say they still want to own a home. So is the American dream dead? Well, the desire is still alive and well. Let's say that, right? Since the beginning of times, especially earlier here in America, the desire to own a home is part of what means the American dream. If 94% of Americans are still saying they want homes, that is still alive and well in terms of the desire. But we are in an interesting market today more than ever, and that is partially being driven, one, we all know interest rates. Before, I think about 3 years ago, I had a friend who had bought a condo, and she refinanced her house at roughly about 2.7% is what she refinanced a home at, right? Today, there was a recent article that says your 30-year fixed mortgage is now above 8%. So you can imagine somebody 2-3 years ago who bought a condo and was able to refinance at 2.7% versus somebody today who's trying to buy at a mortgage rate of 8%. Incredibly tough, and it's taken a lot of desired buyers out of the market. But I don't think it's fully taking them out the market. I think it's actually putting them on the sideline. So is the dream dead? I say no. I say it is delayed. Because if you own a home today and you are in the 3%, right? If you are in a home today and you have a 3% mortgage, naturally you're thinking, if I don't have to leave, I'm just going to wait. So instead of you selling your home, you actually sit on the sideline and you're waiting because you think interest rates is going to come down. And if I am somebody who's currently renting and I see the 8% interest rates and a higher mortgage payments, I'd rather just sit and stay in my current home. So you're delaying the desire, but is the dream dead? Absolutely not. For years, Americans have been programmed to go out and want to go buy a home. They still want to go out and buy a home. They're just waiting for what they believe to be the right time.
Well, I think I probably have to say I respectfully disagree with your analysis, my good friend and my partner. I think to me, the American dream is dead. And I think, here's why. We need to figure out, I think the biggest misconception that most people think about the American dream is that you have to have a house. If it was in the early 90s, or back in 1998 and 1990, then you could say that, okay, I need to have a house to achieve the American dream. Now, you don't necessarily need to have a house to achieve the American dream. My philosophy is we need to redefine what does the American dream mean for people. Is it owning a home? Yes, owning a home could be a part of your portfolio in terms of building wealth. But the question is, do you want to own a home or do you want to invest? Because owning a home is different from investing in a home. And we saw what happened in the 2008 crisis where people own homes and they ended up, their investment was underwater. So what I always try to, talk to, my friends is about, guys, listen, I understand you want to live the American dream, but the American dream for the 21st century is different from the American dream back in the 20th century. Back in the 20th century, yes, owning a home was the quickest rate path. But in my perspective, I think the American dream is about trying to figure out what your skill sets are and starting a business around that skill set to build the American dream. And then in that portfolio set, but So I agree with the context of obviously buying in terms of owning a home right now is difficult or is delayed. But if you're going to be talking about the American dream, which is about you working at not necessarily having to work, or you doing what you want to do, traveling around the world and having disposable income, basically do whatever you want to do. I don't think owning a home is actually the American dream. I think owning a home can actually be an American nightmare if you don't know how to manage it. To that you say what?
To that I say you've got this completely wrong, brother. A home for a lot of people is not just about the investment piece, right? Fundamentally, and if you look at the recent survey that did come out, right, partially from LendingTree, that did say 84% of the people that were surveyed say they'll rather own a home than rent it. So that's one. So 84% of people today still say I'd rather own a home than rent it. And the biggest factor when they broke it down was, well, what's the biggest reason? People associate owning their own home with a sense of flexibility and stability. And that is kind of a core human desire. So I want a home, not just because, yes, it can potentially grow in equity and it's a way to build generational wealth, as we throw that term around, is because, one, I want a place that gives me the freedom to be able to do anything I want to do. There are restrictions. Yes, even if you own a home, there are some restrictions, but you generally have a bit more freedom, right? I can paint, I can do so many different things in my own home, customize it to fit my need. And then two, especially as the average Americans, right, as they go, you have the millennials who are now reaching the age where they're starting to grow a family. The desire for stability for your family becomes more important. That's why the desire to own a home, it's been ingrained in the American mind that that's the path. That's what it means to be an American. That's what it means to achieve freedom. That is not going anyway anytime soon. But an 8% interest rate environment where interest rates were at 2.5% just 3 years ago will delay that dream, and that's exactly what we're seeing in the market today.
No, I get all your points about, and I think I'll probably share the screen again so we can double click on your analysis about what you had mentioned about why people want to, buy a home versus rent. So, for example, I think this was the data I was talking about, the flexibility. You talked about flexibility. They want stability because they started a new home, the pride of ownership. I get all of that. But my retort is going to be, can't you achieve that same flexibility or stability or building wealth through renting? You can have those same experiences by renting than actually by owning. Because think about owning. You have to worry about maintenance costs. You have to worry about property taxes. And come on, it's not free. It's not like owning a home is free. You got to pay a mortgage. If you don't pay a mortgage, they're going to repossess it.
They're going to take that.
So these are some of the things that
on it.
Right, the bank is going to foreclose on it. So my thing is that great, we need to own a home, but the key question is about the American dream. What does the American dream mean to you? It could mean several things for other people. Some people, like I said, it could be flexibility. Some people about freedom to do whatever they want to do. And if you firmly believe that owning a home is part of that portfolio for you, sir, go ahead and do it. But in my opinion, I would rather rent. Why? Because it will give you more disposable income to achieve whatever I wanted to do, my travels, to start a business, a small cookie shop and sell it online via Shopify, whatever the case may be, or to do whatever I want to do. So that is what I think about the American dream in terms of not necessarily ownership being the linchpin. Ownership is probably a piece of the puzzle to attaining that vision for your family.
I'm going to agree with part of it, but I do think where we need, as an average American needs to understand is buying a home is not necessarily the best way of growing wealth, right? Like oftentimes people think, oh yeah, I'm going to go buy a home because that's my best route to build wealth for my family. And that's not necessarily the case, right? Like if you own a home, there are so many things that comes with being a homeowner, to your point. There's a maintenance of it, right? You have to be fully prepared on the taxes, the property taxes, the insurance. We're seeing insurance go up. Things are going to break in a home. You have to be able and adequate enough to be able to manage it. So this is something that constantly takes money out of your pocket. So if you're, oh yes, I'm buying a home because I see it as the way of building this financial freedom, that's not necessarily the best route. There are so many different ways in terms of being able to build investments, whether you talk about stocks, there's opportunity of actual rental property. Now, if you see buying your home as a step of, okay, I'm just using it because I want to get in and a low down payment and then be able to rent it out and then move to another property. And some people have done that, absolutely. But I do think we have to educate the masses of, oh, I'm going to go buy my own home because that's my best bet to build generational wealth and it's an investment. We've got to get out of that mindset. It is a home. It is a place that I'm paying for. And maybe it's not the best financial investment, but it gives me stability. It gives me the flexibility for me and my family. And sure, I will have some equity to pass along to my next of kin once I pass away. But is it really the best investment vehicle? Absolutely not. But I don't think the average American is thinking about it that way.
No, I agree. And again, I think especially when it comes to investing, most people don't know the nuances that, goes into investing. There's a lot you have to look into, whether the cost of capital involved, or whether it's about doing your due diligence. Most the middle class to lower class Americans today do not even have the time. They are bogged. Most of them are doing 2 to 3 jobs. So most of them are like, listen, let me just get me a home. So I get the concept around, let me just give me a place where I can lay my head, where I could build an experience for my children and my family.